Commander Alex Morgan stood before the Galactic Council, his back straight and his chin raised. He tried to keep his face calm, even though anger burned inside him. The huge round chamber stretched around him, with seats rising up like in a giant stadium. Over 200 different alien species watched him from these seats. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and many had shapes Alex couldn't even describe. He was the only human in the room. The 7 high counselors sat on tall platforms at the front. They looked down at Alex with cold eyes, or what passed for eyes among their species. These beings had ruled space for thousands of years before humans had even left Earth. The Council has reached its decision, announced High Counselor Zervex. His voice boomed through the chamber, automatically translated so Alex could understand. Zervex had blue skin that seemed to glow slightly, with 4 thin arms that moved constantly as he spoke. Humanity poses too great a risk to galactic stability. Alex took a deep breath. He had expected this, but hearing it still made his stomach tight with dread. "Explain your reasoning, Counselor," he said, keeping his voice steady. Zervex's mouth parts twitched in what Alex had learned was a sign of annoyance. "Must we repeat what is already known?" "Very well. In the 60 years since, humans discovered faster-than-light travel. Your species has expanded at an alarming rate. You have settled 17 planets, built 43 space stations, and increased your military fleet size by 400%. Another counselor, a large insect-like being named Krex, added, "Your technological development rate exceeds all safety models. You achieved in decades what took other species centuries." Alex wanted to point out that this was because humans shared knowledge freely and encouraged innovation, but he knew it wouldn't matter. The Council had already decided. Susan Carter, Earth's ambassador, stood up from her seat at the side of the chamber. Her gray suit looked plain next to the colorful robes of the alien representatives. "The Council has benefited from human innovations," she argued. "Our medical advances alone have saved millions of lives across 17 species." A council guard stepped forward, his armor gleaming under the lights. "The ambassador will remain silent unless directly addressed," he said. Alex caught Susan's eye and gave a small nod. They had practiced for this. They knew what was coming. High Counselor Zelthara, the oldest member of the council, raised one of her long, thin hands. The chamber immediately fell silent. Unlike the other counselors, she had always been fair to humans. Her species lived for thousands of years, and she had seen many civilizations rise and fall. "It is not merely your growth that concerns us," she said, her voice surprisingly gentle. "It is your unpredictability, your adaptability, your tendency to improvise. Other species follow patterns we can understand and predict. Humans do not." Alex almost smiled at that. She was right. Of course, humans took pride in thinking outside the box. "The verdict is as follows," announced Zervex. "By unanimous vote of the High Council, humanity will be restricted to its home solar system until further notice. The hyperspace gateways to your system will be monitored by Council forces. Any human vessel attempting to leave your solar system will be stopped, disabled, or if necessary, destroyed." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives nodded in agreement. Others looked uncomfortable. "You're imprisoning an entire species," Alex said, his voice echoing across the chamber. "We have rights under the Galactic Charter." "We are protecting the galaxy," corrected Krex. "And we are protecting humanity from itself. You may continue to develop within your solar system. This is not imprisonment but containment for the greater good." Alex wanted to argue, but he knew it would be useless. The Council rarely changed its decisions, especially ones this big. "How long will this containment last?" Susan asked, ignoring the warning glance from the guard. "Until the Council determines that humanity has reached an acceptable level of stability and predictability," Zervex replied. "It could be 100 years. It could be 1,000. Alex felt cold at those words. 1,000 years? Earth's colonies would be cut off from each other, families separated, trade routes destroyed. The human expansion into space stopped in its tracks. This session is concluded, announced Zelthera. Commander Morgan and Ambassador Carter will be escorted back to their vessel and given 24 hours to leave council space. As the chamber emptied, Alex and Susan were led away by armed guards. They walked in silence through the massive hallways of the council station. The walls were made of a strange metal that seemed to shift colors as they passed. Once they were alone in a small waiting room, Susan whispered, "What now?" Alex checked his wrist computer to make sure no one was listening. "Now we follow the backup plan. Earth knew this might happen." His computer beeped softly. A message appeared on the screen, heavily encrypted. It was from Admiral Kate Foster. "Back on Earth. Operation Wildcard is now active. Return home immediately." Alex showed Susan the message. Her eyes widened. "Operation Wildcard? I wasn't briefed on this," she said. "Few people were," Alex replied. "It's a plan developed by Earth Defense after our first contact with the Council. We suspected they might try to contain us someday." "What does it involve?" Susan asked. Alex looked out the window at the vast space station that housed the Council. Ships from hundreds of worlds docked at its many arms. It was beautiful, in its way, and now it represented a prison for humanity. "I don't know all the details," he admitted, "but I know this. Humans don't accept cages no matter how big they are." Their ship was ready within the hour. As they pulled away from the massive council station, Alex looked back one last time. The council thought they had solved the human problem. They thought they had humanity safely contained. They would learn how wrong they were. The small diplomatic vessel turned and headed for the hyperspace gate that would take them back to Earth, back home where plans were already in motion. Plans the council could never predict, because that was the thing about humans. Just when you thought you had them figured out, they changed the rules of the game. 6 months passed since the Council's decision to contain humanity within their solar system. On Earth, people adjusted to their new reality. Some protested, others accepted it, but most simply went on with their lives. The governments of Earth had not revealed what Operation Wildcard was, saying only that they were exploring all options. Alex Morgan now worked at Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva. His office overlooked Lake Geneva, but he rarely noticed the view anymore. Today, he stared at reports from the edge of human space. The Council had placed monitoring stations at every exit point from the solar system. Any human ship that approached was turned back. Several captains had tested the boundaries only to have their engines disabled by Council weapons. A knock at his door pulled Alex from his thoughts. Admiral Kate Foster entered without waiting for a response. Her normally stern face looked worried. "We've received something strange," she said, placing a data pad on his desk. "This came through one of our deep space listening posts." Alex picked up the pad. On it was a video recording badly damaged with static. He could make out an alien being, one of the Ulntari species from the outer galaxy. The blue-skinned alien spoke quickly, fear clear in its 4 eyes. "Spreading faster than we can track," the alien was saying. "Our outer colonies have gone silent. When we send ships to investigate, they don't return. It's like something is eating the stars themselves. We've called for council help, but they don't understand how serious." The message cut to static, then returned. "Darkness that moves. It consumes everything. Not just matter, but light, signals, everything. If anyone receives this, warn the council. This is beyond anything we've ever..." The message ended. Alex looked up at Admiral Foster. "When did we get this?" 3 days ago. We've been trying to contact the Ulntari since then. No response." Alex leaned back in his chair. The Ulntari were an advanced civilization, far more developed than humans. If something threatened them... "Have we shared this with the council?" he asked. Admiral Foster nodded. "We sent it through official channels. They thanked us for the information but gave no details. However, our spies report that council ships are moving toward the outer spiral arm in large numbers." "They're taking it seriously then," Alex said. "Yes, and there's more." Foster handed him another data pad. "This was captured by one of our quantum telescopes yesterday." The image showed a distant star system. As Alex watched, one of the stars dimmed, flickered, and then went completely dark. The darkness spread outward, engulfing nearby stars one by one. "What am I looking at?" Alex asked, though he had a terrible feeling he already knew. "We believe it's what the Olontari were warning about. Some kind of entity that consumes everything it touches. We're calling it the Void." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "How fast is it moving?" "Too fast. At current rates, it will reach Council core worlds within 2 years. Earth within 5. Alex stood and walked to the window. The containment of humanity suddenly seemed like a small problem compared to this new threat. "The Council must be in panic," he said. "They are. Our sources say an emergency session was called yesterday. All species are being asked to contribute ships to a defense force." "All species except humans," Alex noted bitterly. Admiral Foster's mouth tightened into a thin line. "Actually, that might be changing. We've just received a request for a meeting from the Council. They're sending a delegation." "To Earth," Alex turned, surprised. "The Council is coming here? Why not summon us to them as usual?" "I don't know. But they're sending High Counselor Zelthara herself." Alex raised his eyebrows. A High Counselor coming to Earth was unprecedented. Something big was happening. Dr. Alan Wright hadn't slept in 3 days. The physicist had been studying the data from the quantum telescopes nonstop since the first observations of the void. His lab at the Quantum Observatory on the far side of the moon was cluttered with coffee cups and food wrappers. "Play it again," he told his assistant, a young scientist named Linda Gray. Linda sighed but did as asked. The screen showed the simulation they'd been running, a model of a star system being engulfed by the void. As the darkness spread, equations flashed across the bottom of the screen, the laws of physics changing in real time. "There," Alan said, pointing. "See that? The gravitational constant shifts just before the matter is consumed. Then the electromagnetic forces go haywire. It's like the fundamental rules of reality are being rewritten." Linda nodded slowly. "So, the void isn't just eating matter. It's eating the laws of physics themselves," Alan finished. "That's why the Council weapons aren't working against it. Their technology depends on physics staying constant." Alan pulled up another simulation. This one showed Council warships firing energy weapons at the edge of the void. The energy simply vanished upon contact, having no effect. "We need to approach this differently," he said. "We need something that can adapt to changing rules." Message flashed on his screen. It was from Earth Defense Headquarters, marked urgent. "The Council is coming to Earth," he read aloud. "They're requesting a meeting with our top scientists." He looked at Linda with tired but excited eyes. "That includes us." The Council ship arrived 3 days later. It was massive, dwarfing the human vessels that escorted it to Earth orbit. Alex Morgan, Admiral Foster, and President Olivia Martinez waited in the grand conference room of the International Space Station. Earth's most brilliant scientists, including Dr. Alan Wright, sat at the long table. The doors opened. High Counselor Zelthara entered, followed by representatives from 5 other major Council species. She was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to glow slightly. Her eyes, 4 small orbs that changed color with her mood, scanned the room. "Thank you for receiving us," she said, her voice translated by the computers. "I wish our meeting was under better circumstances." President Martinez stood. "We understand you're facing a crisis, Counselor. The same crisis that threatens all life in the galaxy, including ours." Zelthara nodded slowly. "What you call the void has already consumed 18 star systems. Our best weapons have no effect. Our greatest minds cannot explain it." She paused, and Alex was surprised to see what looked like humility in her posture. "We need humanity's help." A murmur ran through the human delegates. 6 months ago, the Council had imprisoned humanity in their solar system. Now they were asking for help? "Why? Come to us," Admiral Foster asked bluntly. "You made it clear what you think of humans." Zelthara's eyes shifted to a deep blue. A sign of regret, Alex recalled. "Because," she said quietly, Our simulations show that humans have something no other species possesses, the ability to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. You think differently when everything falls apart. When rules change, you change with them. She looked directly at Alex. And the rules are definitely changing. The meeting room fell silent after High Counselor Zelthera's words. President Olivia Martinez looked around at the other humans before speaking. She was a small woman with short gray hair, but her voice was strong and clear. "Let me make sure. I understand," she said. 6 months ago you locked us in our solar system because you feared our adaptability. Now you want our help because of that same quality? Zelthera's 4 eyes blinked slowly. The situation has changed. No, Admiral, Foster said, leaning forward. The situation has revealed your mistake. You feared us for the wrong reasons. One of the other council members, a large reptilian being named Draz, made a harsh sound. We do not have time for human pride. The void consumes more systems each day. Dr. Alan Wright cleared his throat. All eyes turned to him. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes, but his voice was steady. I've been studying the void, he said. It's not just destroying matter. It's changing the basic rules of physics. That's why your weapons don't work against it. He tapped a command into his tablet, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed stars being swallowed by darkness. Inside the void, gravity works differently. Light behaves strangely. Energy changes form unexpectedly. Your ships and weapons are designed to work under normal physics. When those rules change, they fail, finished Zelthera. This is what our scientists discovered too. But by then, it was too late for the affected systems. Alex Morgan, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. So what exactly do you want from us? Zelthera turned to him. We need humans to lead the response to this threat. Your minds work differently. You adapt to changing situations faster than any species we know. President Martinez's eyes narrowed. And what do we get in return? The council members looked at each other. It was clear they hadn't expected this question. You get to survive, like the rest of us, said Draz. Not good enough, Admiral Foster replied. If you want our help, we want our freedom. All restrictions on human movement and expansion must be lifted, immediately. Zelthara's skin changed color slightly, a sign of discomfort. The council fears the wrong thing, interrupted Alex. You should be afraid of... What happens if we don't stop this void? From what I understand, none of us will survive if it keeps spreading. Silence fell again as the aliens considered this. Finally, Zelthera spoke. I cannot promise full freedom immediately, but I can offer a compromise. Help us fight the void, and for each victory, restrictions will be reduced. If we ultimately succeed, all restrictions will be removed. President Martinez looked at Admiral Foster and Alex. After a moment, she nodded. We accept, with one condition. Commander Alex Morgan will lead the Joint Human Council Task Force, and he will have full authority to make decisions as needed. The council members looked surprised at this demand. Alex himself raised his eyebrows. Why me? He asked quietly. Because you understand both sides, the president answered. And because I trust you to remember what's at stake. Zelthera studied Alex for a long moment. The council agrees to your terms. Commander Morgan will lead the task force. After the meeting ended, Alex found himself alone with Admiral Foster in a small side room. Did you know they were going to choose me? He asked. Foster smiled slightly. I suggested it to the president. You're the right person for this, Alex? I'm not so sure, he said. I've never led anything this big before. No one has. This is new territory for everyone. She paused. There's something else you should know. Something about Operation Wildcard. Alex looked at her carefully. I thought you couldn't tell me the details. I couldn't. Until now. She took a deep breath. After first contact with the Council, Earth's leaders worried something like this might happen. That the Council might try to contain us or worse. So we began developing technologies that could function under altered physics. Alex stared at her. You knew? You knew something like the void might happen? Not exactly. We just prepared for the possibility that we might need to fight in conditions where normal rules don't apply. Weapons that can adapt to changing physics. Ships that can recalibrate their systems on the fly. And you kept this secret from the Council? Foster nodded. They would have seen it as proof that they were right to fear us. Alex ran a hand through his hair. So all this time, while they've been watching us thinking we were safely contained, we've been preparing for exactly this kind of crisis, Foster finished. Not because we expected the void specifically, but because humans always prepare. For the unexpected, it's what we do. Alex shook his head, a small smile forming. So what do I tell them, the Council, I mean? Tell them we're ready to help. Don't tell them how ready we actually are. She handed him a data pad. This has all the details on Project Firebreak. Our scientists have already been working on ways to counter the void. Dr. Wright's discoveries confirmed we're on the right track. Alex looked at the pad, scrolling through the information. His eyes widened. This is impressive, he said. How long have they been working on this? Since the first reports came in about the Ulntari. We may have been contained, Alex, but we weren't idle. Alex nodded slowly, understanding forming. The Council expected us to rage against our containment, to fight it directly. Instead, we turned our energy to something more productive, Foster said. That's the human way. We adapt. 2 days later, Alex stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, Earth's newest and most advanced starship. Around him, human crew members worked alongside Council representatives. The ship was heading toward the edge of the void, leading a fleet of 50 vessels from various species. Dr. Alan Wright and his assistant Linda Gray had set up a lab on board. They were testing various devices designed to stabilize reality within the void's influence. We call them reality anchors, Linda explained to a curious Council scientist named Myth. They create a field where physics constants remain stable, even if the surrounding space is affected by the void. Myth's antenna twitched. But how can you anchor reality itself? By using quantum entanglement, Alan said, adjusting something on the device. These particles remain connected no matter what happens to the space between them. We use that connection to maintain normal physics within the field. The Council scientist looked impressed. Your species developed this in just 6 months? Alan and Linda exchanged a glance but said nothing. On the bridge, Alex studied the tactical display. The void had consumed another star system while they were preparing for this mission. They needed to move quickly. All ships report ready, Commander, said his first officer, Lieutenant Ben Wilson. Alex nodded. Then let's make history. Tell the fleet to jump to the coordinates. It's time to see if humanity can save the galaxy. The stars outside the view screen blurred as the Liberty led the fleet into hyperspace, toward the darkness that threatened all life, toward the chance for humans to prove their worth to the galaxy that had feared them. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at a safe distance from the edge of the void. Through the view screen of the USS Liberty, Alex Morgan could see it, a vast darkness that seemed to swallow light itself. Stars disappeared at its edges as if they had never existed. Scan the area, Alex ordered. Lieutenant Ben Wilson nodded and worked at his console. The void's edge is approximately 2 million kilometers away and expanding at varying rates, Ben reported. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. There's no pattern we can detect. Dr. Alan Wright stepped onto the bridge, his tablet in hand. We're ready to deploy the first quantum scout, he said. Alex nodded. Proceed. On the lower deck, Linda Gray supervised as a small probe was loaded into a launch tube. The quantum scout was about the size of a basketball, covered in sensors and protected by one of the reality anchors. Launch in 3, 2, 1. Linda counted down. The probe shot out from the Liberty and sped toward the darkness. On the bridge, everyone watched the main screen as the tiny probe approached the void. Data streamed back, displayed in charts and graphs that Alan studied intently. Physics constants are already shifting at the outer boundary, he muttered. Gravity, electromagnetic, forces, everything's in flux. The probe entered the darkness and continued to transmit. The images it sent back showed strange distortions of space. Stars that should have been consumed appeared stretched and twisted, somehow still existing in impossible shapes. "This doesn't make sense," one of the council scientists said. "Those stars were reported destroyed weeks ago." "They are destroyed," Alan replied, "but somehow they also still exist. It's like the void is creating a pocket dimension where things exist in multiple states at once." The probe pushed deeper, then without warning its signal terminated. "What happened?" Alex asked. Alan shook his head. "Hard to say. The reality anchor should have protected it. Something must have overwhelmed the field." "How long did it last?" asked High Counselor Zelthara, who had insisted on joining the mission. 14 minutes 27 seconds, Linda reported. "That's longer than any council probe so far." "Prepare another scout," Alex ordered. "This time let's modify the anchor field to adapt more quickly to changes." "That might drain its power faster," Alan warned. "I know," Alex said. "But we need better data before we can develop a real plan." Over the next 3 days, the fleet launched 17 more quantum scouts. Each one lasted a little longer than the one before, as the team learned from each failure and improved their designs. The crew worked in shifts, with humans and council, members collaborating closely. What surprised the aliens most was how the humans operated under pressure. When a problem arose, humans didn't follow established protocols, they improvised. They argued with each other, challenged assumptions, and suggested wild ideas that sometimes actually worked. "They thrive on the impossible," Zelthara observed, to her aide, as they watched a team of human engineers rebuild a scout probe in record time. "When most species retreat from chaos, humans lean into it." On the 4th day, engineer Frank Lewis approached Alex with a new idea. Frank was a stocky man with clever hands that seemed to always be in motion. "I think we're approaching this wrong," he said. "We keep trying to maintain our reality inside the void. What if instead, we try to understand its reality?" Alex raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "The void isn't just destroying physics as we know it. It's creating its own rules. If we can understand those rules, maybe we can work with them instead of against them." The idea was radical, but Alex had learned to trust human intuition. He brought Frank's concept to the joint science team. At first, the council scientists were skeptical, but Dr. Wright saw the potential immediately. "It's like learning a new language," he said. "Instead of trying to speak our language louder, we need to learn to speak theirs." They redesigned the quantum scouts yet again. Instead of fighting against the physics changes, the new probes were designed to observe and adapt to them. The results were immediate and dramatic. The next scout sent back data for nearly 3 hours before it was lost. The information it gathered was strange and difficult to interpret, but patterns began to emerge. "The void isn't random," Linda explained as she showed the findings to Alex and Zelthara. "It's following rules, just not rules we recognize. There's a pattern to how it changes physics, almost like a program," finished Zelthara, her eyes widening. "You think it's artificial? Created by someone?" "Or something," Linda said. "But yes, it shows signs of being designed rather than natural. This discovery changed everything. If the void was created, then it could be uncreated. Or at least, it might have weaknesses built into its design." A breakthrough came when one of the scouts detected something at the heart of the destroyed Ulantari system, a small region where the physics distortions seemed to originate from a central point. "I think we found its center," Alan said, excitement clear in his tired voice. "Each system the void consumes has a nexus point where the changes begin." "If we could reach those points," Alex mused, "maybe we could disrupt whatever is causing this." Frank Lewis had been working around the clock with his engineering team. They had modified the reality anchors into what they called reality stabilization fields, devices that could temporarily push back the void's influence. "We've got a prototype ready," Frank told Alex. "It creates a bubble of normal space about 1 kilometer wide. It won't last long, maybe 30 minutes. But it might be enough to reach a nexus point and deploy a disruption device." The council representatives were amazed at the progress. In just 1 week, humans had developed technologies that council scientists had deemed impossible. "How are you doing this so quickly?" asked Myth, the council scientist who had been working closely with Alan and Linda. Alan smiled tiredly. "We work well under pressure, and we don't accept that anything is truly impossible, just that we haven't found the right approach yet." Alex called a meeting of all ship captains. The plan was daring. They would use the reality stabilization fields to create a protected corridor into the nearest consumed system. A small team would then travel to the nexus point and deploy a device designed to reset the altered physics to their original state. "This is our first real test," Alex told them. "If it works, we'll have a weapon against the void. If it doesn't—" He left the sentence unfinished. Everyone knew what failure meant. As the fleet prepared for the mission, Alex found Zelthara watching Earth on a view screen. From this distance, it looked peaceful and blue. "You're very far from home," she said when she noticed him. "So are you," he replied. She turned to him. "I was wrong about humans. We all were. What we feared as dangerous unpredictability is exactly what the galaxy needs right now." Alex nodded. "That's the irony, isn't it? You tried to contain us because you feared what made us different. Now those differences might save us all." Zelthara's eyes shifted to a golden color, a sign of hope in her species. "Let us hope so, Commander Morgan, for all our sakes." The day of the mission arrived. 3 ships had been chosen for the dangerous task: the USS Liberty led by Alex Morgan, the Council vessel Starseeker commanded by Myth, and a smaller, faster human ship called the Swift with Captain Nicole Davis at the helm. In the Liberty's launch bay, Alex addressed the team that would travel to the Void's nexus point. 5 humans had volunteered: Dr. Alan Wright, Linda Gray, Frank Lewis, and 2 military officers, Lieutenant Julie Patel and Sergeant Sam Reeves. "This mission has a 30% chance of success," Alex told them honestly. "No one would blame you for backing out now." No one moved. Julie Patel even smiled. "Sir, those are better odds than my first combat drop on Mars." Alex nodded, feeling a surge of pride. "The plan is simple. The fleet will create a corridor of stable space using the reality stabilization fields. The Swift will carry you through that corridor to the nexus point. Once there, you'll deploy the reset device and get out as fast as possible." Frank Lewis held up the device they'd created. It looked surprisingly small, about the size of a suitcase. "This will need 30 seconds to activate once we place it at the nexus. Someone will need to stay with it until the countdown is complete." "I'll do that," volunteered Sam Reeves. The sergeant was a quiet man, but his voice was firm. "We all stay together," Alan said. "No one gets left behind." Alex hoped they could keep that promise, but he knew the risks. "The corridor will only last 20 minutes. You need to be back on the Swift before it collapses." The team boarded the Swift. Captain Nicole Davis greeted them at the airlock. She was young for a captain, but her skills as a pilot were legendary. "Don't worry," she told them with a confident grin. "I'll get you there and back before you know." From the bridge of the Liberty, Alex watched as 50 ships positioned themselves in a long line extending toward the void. Each ship activated its reality stabilization field, creating overlapping bubbles of normal space that formed a narrow corridor into the darkness. "Corridor is stable," reported Lieutenant Ben Wilson. "Power levels holding." "Swift, you are clear to proceed," Alex said into the comm. "Roger that, Liberty," came Nicole's voice. "Starting our run now." The small ship accelerated smoothly into the corridor. On the main view screen, Alex and the bridge crew watched as the Swift entered the void. For a few tense moments, static disrupted their communications. Then Nicole's voice returned. "We're in. The corridor is holding. Proceeding to the nexus point." "Alex, check the time." 18 minutes until the corridor would collapse. On board the Swift, the team felt strange sensations as they moved deeper into the void. Even with the reality stabilization field protecting them, gravity seemed to pull in odd directions. Light bent in ways that made hallways appear to curve when they were actually straight. "This is disorienting," Linda said, gripping a handrail. "Focus on your breathing," advised Julie Patel. "It helps with the spatial dissonance." The Swift's sensors detected the nexus point, a swirling center of distortion at the heart of what had once been the Ontari homeworld. "I can't get any closer," Nicole called from the cockpit. "The ship's systems are starting to fail even with the field." Frank checked the reset device one last time. "We'll have to go the rest of the way in suits." The 5 team members put on their specialized spacesuits designed to maintain their own small reality fields. They carried the reset device between them as they exited through the Swift's airlock. What they saw outside defied description. Stars existed as smeared lines of light. Matter drifted in impossible shapes. The laws of physics twisted and writhed. "Like living things. Stay focused," Alan reminded them. "The nexus is 200 meters ahead." They moved carefully through the chaos. Their suit fields protected them, but the strange forces of the void pulled at them constantly. Twice, Linda nearly lost her grip on the reset device. 15 minutes until corridor collapse, came Nicole's voice in their helmets. They reached the nexus point, a sphere of intense darkness that seemed to pull at not just their bodies but at reality itself. Frank activated the reset device. "Setting it here. Countdown starting right now. 30 seconds. "We should go," Linda said, glancing at her suit's power levels. "Our fields are draining fast." The team turned back toward the Swift. But as they did, Frank cried out. His suit's field was flickering. The void began to seep through, distorting his hand. "Go," he shouted to the others. "I'll stay with the device." "No." Sam Reeves pushed Frank toward the others. "I'll do it. My combat suit has the strongest field. You're needed to build more of these devices." Before anyone could argue, Sam moved back to the reset device. 20 seconds left. Get moving." Julie and Alan helped Frank as the team rushed back toward the Swift. Behind them, Sam knelt beside the device, one hand pressed against its surface, the other holding a stabilizer rod. Into the nexus itself. 10 seconds. Sam's voice came through the comms, strained but determined. The team reached the Swift and scrambled inside. "We have to wait for Sam," Linda cried. Alan looked at the corridor timer. "We have 7 minutes. If we wait longer than 5, none of us will make it back." On the Liberty, Alex watched the time with growing tension. The corridor was beginning to fluctuate as the ship's power systems strained to maintain the reality fields. "We can't hold this much longer," Ben Wilson warned. "Give them every second we can," Alex ordered. At the nexus point, Sam Reeves watched. The countdown reached 0. The reset device pulsed, sending a wave of energy into the heart of the void. Around him, the distorted physics began to shift. Stars reappeared. Space straightened. "It's working," he reported, his voice breaking up. "The reset is spreading outward from..." His transmission cut off as his suit field failed completely. On the Swift, Nicole Davis pushed the engines to their limit as they raced back through the corridor. Behind them, the darkness of the void was receding, replaced by normal space as the reset wave expanded outward. "We've lost Sam," Julie reported grimly as they approached the Liberty. The Swift cleared the corridor just as it collapsed. The 50 ships of the fleet pulled back to a safe distance, watching in awe as the void continued to recede. "It worked," Alex said quietly. "The reset worked." In the following days, the news spread across the galaxy. The void was retreating from multiple systems as reset devices were deployed at other nexus points. Stars reappeared. Planets reformed. Physics returned to normal. 1 month after the first successful mission, Alex Morgan stood again in the Galactic Council chamber. This time, he wasn't alone. The heroes of the Swift mission stood beside him, along with Captain Nicole Davis and representatives from Earth. High Counselor Zelthera addressed the crowded chamber. "Today, we honor those who saved our galaxy from the greatest threat it has ever faced. In particular, we honor Sergeant Sam Reeves, who gave his life so that countless others might live." She turned to Alex and the human delegation. "As promised, all restrictions on humanity are hereby lifted. Furthermore, the Council has voted to create a new position, Guardians of the Galaxy, with humans as its principal members. Murmurs of approval filled the chamber, quite different from the fear Alex had heard there just months before. We feared humanity's adaptability, Zelthera continued. We saw as dangerous what has proven to be the galaxy's greatest asset. We sought to contain what we did not understand. Today we recognize that was our mistake. Later, as the ceremonies concluded, Alex found himself standing with Dr. Alan Wright looking out at the stars from the council station. "What do you think happens next?" Alan asked. Alex smiled. "We do what humans have always done. We explore. We learn. We adapt. And we protect," added Alan, thinking of Sam Reeves and the others who had risked everything. "Yes," agreed Alex. "That too. Because that's also what humans do." The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if celebrating with them. Somewhere out there, new worlds waited, new challenges would arise. But now at least humanity would face them unshackled, ready to prove again and again why they belonged among the stars.